I started doing artificial intelligence work in 1970.
Wow.
The computers we're talking about, as big as this whole floor. Technology is for everybody. And the perfect example is, okay, take my age group.
Right.
Now, which person do you know that doesn't have a cell phone?
Our guest today is no other than Robert Launer.
Hello.
I met him and I was very fascinated by his story. He has worked in the technology industry all his life. So he has seen different technologies come and go. He has seen the evolutions from the very beginning. And I'm so excited to talk to him today. Robert, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started in computing in 1968. Okay, for those of you who don't realize it, I'm 72 years old.
Oh my God.
I had some opportunities, and I've been progressing through that over the years. But also, as you talk about disruption and everything else, I've also switched careers a few times. I'm now also a classified health scientist and management of chronic disease. I'm also a master trainer to sort out some of the education, not only here, but in the world. I've also been a photographer, a scuba diver. I'm an electrical engineer and computer scientist, and also a solar engineer.
At 72, and you're still able to do all of these things.
I still do have all those things.
Wow.
I handle problems for people with computing. Mm-hmm. I'm working with chronic disease management. That is cancer, ADHD, AIDS, diabetes is the main things I've been working with people.
Wow.
And what you're saying is that people look at one direction for their career. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that there's always something else. Yeah. And you always wonder, would I be good for that?
Yeah.
And you have to try it. Absolutely. You may fail, but then you succeed. In my case, I just kept on going. Sometimes I failed. The biggest thing was in photography. People talk, let's come back also to technology. Mm-hmm. As technology progressed, you have to, I actually looked at technology is progressing. Let's see what this new stuff can do. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is how I can retrofit my equipment to do the modern things.
Yeah, right.
The biggest thing, let's take computing. And I also just let you know, I was in Los Angeles, California, University of California, Los Angeles, School of Engineering and Applied Science. It's relative because I got to study with the professors that developed the internet.
Oh, wow.
So I have
Hold that thought. Okay, that is quite interesting, and we're going to get into that, right? But I want to understand your journey a little bit more. Huh? So you were born in LA, right?
No, I was born in New York, but at age 2, I moved to Los Angeles. So I have to say just Los Angeles because
all right.
At age 1 and 2, you don't remember anything.
It's pretty much the same. And then you had most of your life in the USA, and then you decided to move to South Africa. Why did you move to South Africa?
Well, I met my wife in San Francisco.
She was South African?
No, she was British.
Oh, okay.
And that's a little funny, the story there. Interesting lady, I met her. Actually, at first, when we first met each other, we hated each other.
Okay,
progressed. It took about a year to get that sorted out.
Okay. Oh.
We got married in 85. So in 86, first ventures to go to England, meet mother and family. Mm-hmm. Then in December of 87, we came to South Africa.
Oh, wow.
To visit father.
Oh, you came to visit?
To visit and actually introduce myself. I'm the new son-in-law. Okay. Do you approve of me? The whole.
So you had no intention of relocating at the time?
I didn't know any. All I knew about South Africa is the politics and everything else. I'm serious.
Right, yeah.
And my father-in-law played a trick on me. He said, South Africa's fine, but at night you have to watch out because you let the lions out at night. I'm serious. That's what he told me. And so we were a little bit scared.
That's interesting. Okay.
So then also, now you're traveling, right? Now this is 87. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's the height of apartheid.
Right.
The only consulate that was available is New York. I'm in Los Angeles. We don't have internet. Mm-hmm. We don't have telecommunications. We have faxes.
That was back in the day.
And wait a minute, and postal service.
Oh my God.
Now, by the way, the postal service works better in the United States than South Africa. Okay. We won't go there. So I was doing that. So my wife had a British passport. For her, it's no problem. Mm-hmm. American passport, because they didn't like us. I have to joke about the whole thing.
I know why.
So I had to apply.
Okay.
So, fine. Here's fill out the application, everything else. Now there was a fee. Okay. Now we didn't have electronic banking back then. It's regular banking. So I wrote a check. The fee for the visa was $1.15.
$1.15.
So I wrote a check. Okay, fine. So the government actually set up the restrictions that anybody traveling in South Africa had to physically show themselves to the travel agent in South Africa that they're not other than the normal.
Okay.
Other than white. I'm sorry to say that. No, I'm serious.
Wow. So they were worried about the color of the people arriving in South Africa at the time.
Yeah. And from any country. So it wasn't just the South Africa. I call them the Africans, but I'm talking international, Indians, Alaskan, anybody. Yeah, exactly.
What gave you, should I say, courage to come to South Africa at such a difficult political time atmosphere? Because 87 years, that was the height.
That's the height, yeah. And the thing was, okay, I wanted to meet my father-in-law.
That was it.
Well, that was one thing, but also, okay, let's take an adventure.
Yeah.
Let's see what's actually going on. And my wife, we loved each other and everything else, and I had to. Somehow, reason I had to come. Okay, there was restrictions and everything else, but fine. Let's go find out for ourselves, but also visit the family and see what's going on in South Africa. So we came, pure and simple. Now, the thing is also is that, okay, we explored and everything else. One thing, we were taking pictures of the surf at Durban Beach. All of a sudden, this lifeguard shows up. What are you doing? He was part of the secret police.
Oh.
Because they're worried about the press and everything else.
Oh.
So we had to identify ourselves. There, so I find
So you had your camera with you?
Oh yeah, we had the long lenses, like the paparazzi, you might say.
All right.
But also, on the other side, which most people didn't realize, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Okay, they had the ways of breaking the restrictions and all the other stuff. But on the converse side, on the positive side, they were showing, in terms of banking technology, mining technology, other types of industry, they were actually in the top 10 back then.
Wow.
In the world.
South Africa. Wow. Okay.
So they didn't say this. They
had a lot of innovations that
very much innovation. The biggest thing was, banking,
right?
ATM,
right?
What freaked me out or surprised me, someone had a bank. I forget which bank it was. Let's do this way. Say it was ABSA as an example, and the ATMs weren't working. They then went to an F&B ATM and got cash. Well, guess what? And the rest of the world didn't exist.
So that was something you realized in South Africa.
That's like, this is interesting here.
Yeah.
Why can they do it and the rest of the world can't do it?
Okay, it therefore means that back then in America, if you were with a particular bank, you could only get money from that particular ATM. Yeah. You could not do exactly. South Africa was doing it at the time. Yeah. So I guess this is interesting.
You called it was called SASwitch originally, and it was BankServe now. And one of the things I got, then I said, okay, fine. How do I get involved in this?
Right.
So in our trips, we traveled around the country. We took the train, we took the blue train from Johannesburg to Cape Town. Then we came back. And then in the trials of the blue train, we talked to some people. You talk to people on a train. These were consultants from the United States.
Oh.
They were on contract. They were being paid in dollars back then.
Right.
And they were always looking for people. So we talked, and so we started the interview process.
Is that how you got into tech?
No, that's how I got into tech in South Africa.
In South Africa. Oh, I see. Okay, but you had worked in technology in the United States before. Yeah.
Well, in the United States, it's school.
Yeah.
Okay? No answer. My father gave me a computer book. In 1966, NASA, the space program, Los Angeles School District, and IBM sponsored a program for pre-matrics to learn programming.
Right.
So I became a student. That was 1966. So that's why I wrote my first program. Now, the computers we're talking about, as big as this whole floor. Not like this little thing here.
Right.
And
So when you said your father gave you a computer, I was about to ask.
No, a computer book.
Oh, a book.
A book. A book. A book.
Okay. But the actual computers were really big.
And you think about that, you had to book time. You couldn't have a computer like that. You had to say, okay, you book time, you pay for it, you get 1 hour, that's it.
Wow.
So you had a problem.
And they were only in schools?
No, they were only not even in schools. Well, I'm going to corporate offices.
Oh, schools didn't have access to computers at the time.
No, that was very unusual.
All right.
You think it was unusual here back then? Well, think about this. How do you pick a computer that's the size of this floor into a school?
Exactly.
No way. So that's the first thing. But then that was 1966, the first class.
Oh my God.
Wait, this gets better. Then they had the next year of the class, 66, 67.
Right.
They tried an experiment on me. I became the teacher of computing. Yeah. I taught
How did you learn it? Like from the book your father gave you?
I learned it from the book my father gave me, and then doing
those 2 hours.
It was like 5 months, once a week.
You go and you have your 2 hours for 5 months, once a week.
Yeah.
Were you teaching yourself? Was there someone teaching you?
No, they were teaching us.
All right, okay.
But then I would do extra. I had incentive to do extra learning. See, because I wanted to be an astronaut.
Right.
Okay, I didn't qualify. My grades were average.
But you always go the extra mile in whatever you were learning. That's what I'm hearing.
when I set my mind on something, I go for it 100%.
That's great.
To the detriment of some other things you might say, personal relationships, other thing else. But then, so I did that, and I was the one to get the first program to work.
Right.
It took me 3 months to get my first program to work.
What sort of program, if I may ask?
Okay, go back to the very beginning. There were 3 languages. There was Fortran, was the mathematical language. There was COBOL for the business.
Languages.
Yeah, COBOL. And there was Assembler, which is the ones and zeros.
Which I have no clue what they are, but I'm listening.
Yeah, well, you've seen one, all this stuff. That's the machine language.
Right.
Okay, I programmed in all of those.
Wow.
And so that's part of it. But then they gave me, all of a sudden they said, okay, Robert, this is what you're going to do. Come back. Oh, you came back again. Okay, why don't you teach the course? I said, okay.
And you started teaching computers?
I started teaching computers.
Wow.
But then it went from students to the teachers, to the professors at university, to corporate.
And now back in South Africa, your first job?
My first job was with the banks, reworking the ATMs.
Right.
But then also we've now changed. This is 1990.
Right.
Okay, Mandela came out.
Right.
And now we have the transition to the election.
Right.
So things were still restricted.
So when you are now in South Africa, did you work in banking all your life, or did you transition careers at some point?
Well, that's what I mean. I started in banking.
Right.
Then I started developing and training, because we had to train the next generation. We also had to train, I'm talking students and individuals in what they want to do in life. There's a problem around the world. They forgot about teaching or having students, I call them young adults,
right,
high school level, to find out what do they want to do after they matric.
Right.
You only find out you matric, okay, now what do I do?
No idea.
In the United States, we start at grade 7. Do the evaluations, everything else.
What, in your opinion, when you look at the education system, what do you think is lacking?
The focus for the students. They're learning all the different things. They're learning the languages. They're learning the mathematics. They're learning the science. They're learning history. That's good. But how do they apply it? Right. How to get some practical exercise? The other part of it is that, okay, in the United States, we have a 3-month break, not like South Africa, one week and everything else. And then there was opportunities to work while you're still a student. The thing is, that still can be done here in South Africa. Companies need to start looking at, because they're always looking for the matrics that have the high qualifications, the exemptions, everything else. But the interesting thing about it is not always the high qualifications are the best employees.
That is so profound. And it's so true, because this is what organizations look for. They go to different schools and they look for the top class, or those that came top of their class, and they pick them. But from what you're saying, it doesn't necessarily mean that those high grades will translate into real life experience at work. It doesn't mean they're the best fit.
That's right.
So for them to find the best fit, how should they go about it?
We call it a work study. During the break, have them come in as interns. 1 week, 2 weeks, try it out.
Right.
The reason I say that, for me, when I was high school, I couldn't get a job there. My father then talked to one of his banking friends.
Right.
And I got in there, and I was handling checks, doing distribution, all the other stuff. And I had fun with it. I don't care if it was the most menial. See, that's the thing. I don't care if it's the most menial job. It's a start.
Right.
And you can prove yourself to the people on how you do it. And it doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
And at the end of the period, they actually offered me a job.
Right.
And I'm still matric.
Like what you're saying is so mind-blowing, something I've never really thought about. And maybe a lot of people out there listening have never really also thought about it. Like, because it means that someone who did not do very well academically could do an internship in a particular organization and turns out to be a better fit and a better employee than someone who came up top of the class or someone who passed with distinctions. And so schools focus more on high distinctions without really looking at the very core of this person. What is it they want to be and what do they want to achieve in life? And that same thinking from the school environment translate even to the corporate world, where the corporate world is also looking for top of the class without asking, are these people even passionate about what they're doing?
That's the biggest thing.
Do they even love what they're doing? Okay, you might have. I always take an example for myself, right? I did very well in accounting, but I knew, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was scoring high on this subject, but I could never be an accountant. I'm a creative person. So the numbers and the red tape and the restrictions around this, it wasn't my thing. And my family tried pushing me towards that. Like, you're doing so well in accounting, go do accounting. I was like, no, it's not for me. And I remember the disappointment on my brother's face when I said I wasn't doing accounting. But I knew deep within me that, no, I like flexibility. I like things I can explore and try. But you can't do that within the accounting sector. You follow rules.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, there was a thing. For accounting, you have to do this, this, this.
Right.
You have your audit controls. You have all this other stuff in between. Yes. But the thing is, for me, same thing. If you look at my grades, and by the way, it's online if you want to look at it.
Right.
I'm average. C, B, anything else. But when it came to
there's a book called, I think it's by Robert Kiyosaki, where he says why the C students work for the A students. What is that? I think somewhere around. That. Have you read it?
Yeah, the C students work for the A. Well, the C students work for the A students.
Yes.
But the thing is, the C students have a passion for what they do.
No. It's the other way around.
Oh.
The A students
work for the C students.
Work for the C students, yeah. We got it mixed up. Because it therefore means that the idea in the book is that those who are usually the smartest in terms of academia, it does not necessarily mean that they are smartest in the real world or they can actually run a business, you know. So you see that some people who failed, they come out and they're able to run a business better, and then they employ the A grade and the smartest, and they come and work for them.
But see, the thing is, there's one factor in this. It's called passion.
Right.
It's your desire. See, I always have a passion for what I do.
Right.
Computing was the first thing. The next thing was health.
There are a lot of things that are missing from the education system. And I feel that fitness and health is missing. Financial literacy is missing. Things like emotional intelligence you just mentioned, these are missing. But we are so focused on a one-size-fits-all type of approach that does not really work for everyone. You see that people graduate and they literally still have to learn skills to function in life.
See, that's the whole thing. Most companies, and this is worldwide now, not just South Africa, they will hire a person and they know up front that they only will be really productive 6 to 9 months after being hired. That's a fact worldwide, because the education system doesn't prepare them, even if they go to varsity, because see, they don't have the practical.
Right.
And I've
what happens after 9 months?
Then they become productive because they learn in the company. They're looking, this company does this, this company does this. I'll give you an example here. I got hired, okay?
Right.
This is internationally now.
Right.
So I come in, I came in 3 days before I started my work. The manager played a trick on the team. I was going to be a team leader.
Right.
They had, now I'm coming into South Africa now, okay?
Right.
This is 1990, August.
Right.
So I came in on the Thursday. On the Sunday was a braai.
Right.
Okay, now I got to tell you, the United States, a braai and a barbecue to me at that point was the same thing. Okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute. This gets interesting. Okay, so we find there. Okay, so we come there. We get to the people. We start to meet the people. Now, all he said to the team was, "I'm coming on as part of the team." That's all he said. Now we get there and a braai. Now they had half a sheep there.
Right.
So, we start to get it and we understand a braai and a barbecue are two different things.
Right.
Not the same.
What's the difference, though? I would like to know.
Well, no. First of all, it's the meat you do, what you're actually cooking, and how you cook it,
Okay.
and how you prepare it, and how you prepare it, how you cook it, how you serve it, the interaction of the people,
Okay.
the discussions that go on, and a barbecue is completely different.
Okay. What is it like?
We just cook the thing and then go from there. Then you have your discussion and everything else. It's more of a social thing.
Okay.
In South Africa.
Yeah, it is a social thing. When
Where,
someone
okay,
says we're
it's sort of a
inviting
social
you
thing
for
in the
a
United
braai.
States, but not the same.
Right.
Because the guy who does the cooking, he does it himself. Here, the people get involved in it.
Right.
Sometimes do the
Right.
extra sauce or extra seasoning or turn it slightly different to get this one or make it so I want this one rare, I want this one medium.
Right. It's true. That's a South African thing. And I've never really thought that there was a difference between the two until now. A braai is a social gathering in South Africa. I'm actually invited for one this weekend, so
There you go.
I know.
So the thing is that, okay, fine. So I met the team. That was on the Sunday. Come the Monday, I got introduced to the team as their new team leader.
Oh,
And one of the guys said he should have butted it up to me on Sunday because.
okay.
But the thing was, he then played another trick on. I call it a trick, but
Was it still within the banking industry?
It was in the banking industry.
Right.
He played another trick on me. He said, "Okay, fine. Here's your team. Now, what you got to do is go find yourself a desk. Okay, go find yourself a computer and get it connected. Get your phone connected. And by the way, you have to facilitate a training in 2 weeks.
So at that time, there were computers, smaller ones.
We have the big ones, the desktops.
Right.
But think of this. He didn't prepare anything. He didn't have any prepared. I had to go find my own stuff.
Right.
There was, and I said, okay, fine. Off I went. Day one, I got my desk. Day Wednesday, I got my computer connected.
Right.
I had my phone. And of course, this training went successfully 2 weeks later.
Wow.
I talked to
Interesting.
but the thing is, I talked to my manager about that after I met him 2 years ago.
Right.
And I asked him about that. And he said, okay, he wanted to test, he did two things. Wanted to test me, am I actually what I can do?
Okay.
And second thing, to prove to the team why I got hired.
Right.
And he knew it wouldn't kill me.
Right.
But see, I got an advantage. I got to find out what's going on in the office, where the things were, who I needed to talk to. And that got to help me going forward and going on. Now, take a person from school, right out of school.
Right.
Could they do that? No. They'd be too scared.
Right.
It's like, just do it. I had some failures, obviously.
Right.
We'll go from there.
Person fresh from school definitely would not do that. You've worked in banking, you've transitioned to healthcare. What are some of the technological innovations that have evolved over time that have really stood out for you, like the most significant ones?
Well, banking has been the big thing.
Right.
The electronic currency, online banking, international transactions, electronic forex, in the mining industry.
Right.
What's been happening there in terms of, I hate to say it, the technology innovations, they reduce the number of people they need.
Right.
I mean, you say innovation, but on the negative side, loss of jobs.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's another way of doing that.
Okay.
Because I was talking to some of waiting for you to set up.
Right.
I was talking to some of the people downstairs. There's a lawyer who also does a podcast, and we're talking about artificial intelligence in law.
Right.
But artificial intelligence in general. Now, okay, just to progress, I started doing artificial intelligence work in 1970.
Wow.
So in terms of technology, learning that, but how to do artificial intelligence. I also had a project with NASA, the space program, because we had a duplicate computer, flight simulation. See, there's little things you get involved in.
I know, but the artificial intelligence back in 1970.
Yeah, well, actually, believe it or not, it actually started in the early 20s. 1920s.
So how has it evolved? I think that's what question I want to ask, because you've seen it back then.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was called then.
It was called artificial intelligence
really?
still. But the thing was, it was so technically involved. The basic...
What could it do? Like, can you give like a practical example of what
we could do analysis
AI
of
could
data.
do?
Biggest thing was analysis of data.
Right.
And the most significant one was during World War II. They broke the German code.
Using
That was artificial intelligence back then.
Really?
That's the most significant thing. That's an example. The next thing is we got to the space program and analysis. You saw the computers that play chess. That's all artificial intelligence.
What year was that? Yeah, I've read.
That was, okay, we started in the 70s, 80s, then progressed more. Then we started to get involved with basic stuff like analysis of data, talking human emotions, facials.
Yeah.
Right now you have the thing of facial recognition.
Absolutely.
That's artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And all the things. And more, they're now looking at the simple things. There was an article this morning. Okay. There's an article this morning about loss of jobs, the white collar.
Yeah, definitely.
But the thing is that companies can actually still re-employ those people they're going to retrench from artificial intelligence by upskilling them.
How? Where do they fit in?
Well, that's the thing. You need to see what each individual can do.
It's not possible to retain all of them.
No. What I'm saying is there's a way of actually, but also preparing them for the next level. You see, the other thing I keep track of is that, jobs.
Right.
Okay. Nowadays, I get a list, and I'm talking just Haoteng alone. Last month, there was 9,500 real jobs available in Haoteng. That's from the most basic to mid-level.
Okay.
Then other thing I've been getting now, there's a lot more C-level jobs that are now available. So in terms of jobs, they're there. But how do you apply for it? How do you make yourself known as the proper candidate first? That's the trick now. Right. How do you learn about yourself?
Right.
What I do when I first met you, I gave you, just so people know, I have an A5 business card.
Right.
Not the small one.
I remember.
And the thing is that I had to describe who I am.
Right.
You have to present yourself in a CV, I say like 1 page or whatever, of what you can do at the job specification they're asking for.
Right.
Not this general thing, I've done this or whatever. And then you go talk to them, but also you have the right to go back to say, okay, you've been rejected. You can to find out why,
right?
And then you can improve.
Absolutely.
Because my first job, I wasn't hired the first time in my job application. I called them 2 months later to say, what can we do? Okay, come back for an interview, and then we progressed. There's always something else going, and there's also another thing that there's more jobs that are not advertised than are advertised. It's like the iceberg.
Really?
You know iceberg?
Right.
You see that?
Right.
But underneath, there's a lot more jobs than advertised. The job I got coming to South Africa was never advertised.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most significant technology you've seen in the last 10 years or so?
Most significant.
To you, by the way.
To me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's been computing technology is the big thing across the board. Right. I've gone from the monsters to the little ones.
All right. Well, that's not in the past 10 years. That's like in the past 20 or 30 years, right?
Yeah. Are you talking? Well,
yeah, it's fine.
Since let's take it from 1990. That's when I came here. We had small things, but we had big computers. Now we started getting into smaller things.
Right.
Nowadays, I mean, let's have to show an example to people. Hello, you see this?
Yeah.
Here's your computer.
Yeah,
it was as big as this room.
Right.
I mean, this computer has more power than any of the spacecraft had that shot around the world.
Wow.
As an example, that's the biggest technology, but also telecommunications, networking communications.
Right.
And people, they use it.
Right.
But they don't master it. They don't understand all of it's available. I'll give people a joke from me. Okay, you see me, I'm an older man. This is the funny part of it. You make an assumption.
Right.
And only when I open my mouth, you realize there's something else. But also in terms of technology, you look at this, but you don't see all of it. That's been the problem now. You see technology, but you don't understand it. I know it sounds funny, but you use your computer.
Right.
You knew all the features.
No, not at all. I agree.
But here's the thing. I will take your leftovers, computers, I don't care what age it is,
Right.
and do the same thing with it that you do now with with the computers you just bought. In my bag, I brought a little something.
Right.
It's a computer from 15 years ago. It's a laptop.
Wow.
It's an i7, 7 core,
Okay.
15 years ago.
Okay.
Okay? Just an example.
Right.
That's what people throw away.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. Like most people don't have a computer from 15 years ago.
No, but see, that's why I make a challenge to people. If you're throwing away your computer, pass it on.
Right.
We can refurbish and then show you how to actually use it properly for the children. Also for the young, I call them young adults. I'm just the children out of the picture.
Right.
It's time to let them, to show them how they can properly use technology.
Right.
Not using it as a babysitter. I'm sorry, I see too much of it.
Yep, I agree.
And they have to learn.
Right.
Once they do that, they're going to become a better young adult.
Absolutely.
And they'll be able, actually, with that knowledge, they'll be able to actually progress through school and actually get that first job faster. No, really.
Absolutely. There's something else I want to ask you.
Yeah.
What was the world like without internet? Because me no can't really remember.
It was slow. Okay, the thing was, it took longer, pure and simple. But the thing is, the internet, before the internet, it was called ARPANET. It was a government program of interconnection. That's where it actually started.
Right.
And the thing was, there's always been communication by wire, telephone.
Of course.
And computers, if you think about it, you go back then, you had to walk into a store or say a post office.
Right.
They got onto a screen.
Right.
That was the interconnection. There was always that. It started after World War II.
Right.
It was quieter. It was not so quick.
Yeah.
I have to say, you get to enjoy things more.
I think I agree with you.
People have gotten too much technology. Just so people know, Nikki gave me an invite. When was that? On Saturday or something via LinkedIn?
Yeah.
I didn't respond.
Yeah, I didn't see you.
Nikki then went ahead and WhatsApped me.
Yeah.
I had to explain to her, I went on vacation. I turned off all my technology.
Absolutely. And I understood. I was like, that's a good one. Yeah.
People need to break.
Right.
Experience we went to Durban, Umhlanga.
Right.
We enjoyed everything.
Right.
We didn't have to, but conversely,
Yeah.
in my life, being here in this country,
Right.
I was on call 24/7 for 25 years. Okay?
Wow.
But in that time, we had 2 around the world trips and 6 honeymoons.
Wow.
Okay, my wife died 4 years ago.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Just so you understand, I met a new lady, okay?
Right.
But just to explain, you can have that work-life balance, even under what they call high pressure.
Right.
But for this pressure for me, that's my play.
Right.
See, what I do, I think people are getting the point.
Right.
All this is my play. And if you can get a job or jobs or careers that you can play at,
Right.
nothing's impossible.
That's great. That's so profound.
And see, that's what I'm doing now.
Right.
I'm passing that on.
Right.
So they can be the next masters. So they can be the next successes.
Right.
They might develop someone new. There's a South African man. He was experimenting at home,
Right.
mixing chemicals. He
Right.
developed new rocket fuel
Wow.
in South Africa, from South Africa. There's a few other success stories I'm just talking South Africa now,
Right.
where they got Nobel Prizes for what they did. So it's all possible.
Absolutely.
But people don't think so. They think, oh, I'm this, come from wherever. But if you set your mind,
Right.
you set your desire, you set your dream, like I say, you go.
How has smartphones changed the world, in your opinion? You witnessed when the world had maybe no phones.
No, we had phones. No, we had phones. Have been
Landlines,
around.
right? So the question is, from that time when the world had landlines, and now with cell phones, you just showed us one now. So how has that change been for you? Which era would you prefer to live in?
Well, I hate to say, okay, yes, I like the new era. Because, okay, yes, it was fine, but the whole world has changed.
Right.
We were more slower. And part of technology has made us faster.
You mean we were slower back then, right?
We were slower back then.
Yeah.
If you couldn't get a hold of a person, there was no answering machine. You couldn't get a hold of them. So things had to wait. Think about it. There's a phone. You know the phones?
Right. Yeah.
That's it. If the person called and there was no answering machine, no anything else, you had to call them back.
Right.
Great. You get a hold of the person, you talk. No problem there. But the thing was, it wasn't that important. We weren't in the critical need.
Right.
And the problem now is that we're always in critical. People said, I can't. Well, the new technology has made, okay, you work, but you're still on call even at home.
Right.
I set a rule back then, well, when I first started.
Right.
Okay, fine. I'm on 24/7. Here's my, regular number.
Right.
Now, if there's really an emergency, here's the other number.
Right.
Over 25 years, I only had maybe 5 calls on the other number.
Right.
Everything could be handled because I trained the next generation and I trained the subordinates and the colleagues to do the job.
Awesome. Is there a technology that you remember that was the thing back then, like where everyone went like, wow, that is now obsolete?
Well, faxes.
All right.
Where's the other one? There was something else. Oh, yeah. The express mail.
Things I don't know, yeah.
As in mail, envelope, stamps.
Oh, right.
Stamps.
Yes.
Where
you write a letter,
you write a letter, you put it down, you put a stamp on it. I'm a stamp collector.
Oh.
So here you have these wonderful stamps that look very nice, and now they're like, you don't get it anymore.
Exactly.
It's all electronic, or you just, a stamp for that. There's no more creativity to that.
Are there some people still using fax now in 2023?
Yeah.
Do you think so?
It's a backup system. No. Okay. In the world,
Right.
you have to have backups for whatever disasters you have. The important companies still keep faxes.
Really?
Yeah. And also, by the way, you do faxes on your computer.
How?
If you, depending on your company,
Right.
they actually have a facility called fax to email or email to fax.
Oh.
So you send the fax, it comes an email to you. You want to send it out, it goes from email to fax out to the person. So the machine is inside the computer. So it's an old technology that's a backup system.
Oh. Meaning that at some point, if there were no emails and no computers,
Yeah, we can still transmit.
Okay.
That's the old technology.
So when faxing or when the fax machine was introduced, what was it like back then?
Okay, you had a phone. Okay,
Right.
you had a regular phone now.
Right.
You had to say, okay, you had to coordinate with the person on the phone first.
Right.
You then had to put the phone down into the machine.
Right.
Press the button. They had to press the button on the other side.
Right.
And you watch this thing twirl.
Right.
No, it was round. Yeah, it was one page at a time.
Oh.
Nowadays, it's multiple.
Right.
And and as it developed, so the old technology, but we have modern versions of it.
Right.
So think of the thing that the computers, old and new. But see, the thing is that if you understand the basics,
Right.
and this is where some of the education goes off.
Right.
Give them the basics. Anything can be done. Then they understand. Nowadays, we miss some of the basics. My big thing, and I know people are not going to agree with me,
Right.
is on coding.
Right.
Coding's fine, but it misses some of the basics.
Okay.
It has to do with logic and understanding. You can do the thing, this is what you have to do and everything else.
Right.
It's a piece by piece. But it doesn't give them the understanding of what it's all about.
Right.
How do you create something new?
Okay.
How do you actually analyze it? And I'll give it a context to say it has to do with flow charting. What's the flow? How does the process actually work? And you actually diagram it.
Okay.
And actually this will help in mathematics.
Right.
Because the biggest thing now is mathematics and science, particularly math.
Right.
The grades, are low and everything else.
Right.
Because some of the basics, this has to do with new math, lost the basics of understanding mathematics and flow. How do you make an equation? How do you solve an equation?
Right.
They're too much, and teachers do that, and schools are set, what's the grade? Did they get the answer, yes or no?
Right.
Back when I was studying, 10% was the answer,
Right.
90% was getting there.
Wow.
So we have to go back to getting there by the 90%. Because then they can actually look at their thought processes. You do that, I'll guarantee you the average grade, what is it now, 30 or 40%, will go up to 70, 80%. It's a guarantee.
Right. Do you think the world is better with or without the internet?
Now, at this point, the world is better with the internet.
With the internet.
Because there was things we lost. There's things we couldn't do. Now we can do those things.
Right.
But the thing is, now we can take it to the next level.
Right.
I don't know if you see the science fiction movies. Okay? The one that, Star Trek?
Right.
Okay. You remember the communicator?
Right.
Great. That's the cell phone. Mm-hmm. We're taking travel to the next level. Mm. We're taking communications. And yes, we'll be able to transport ourselves through electronically.
Right.
Getting there. Right. Everything's possible. But yes, it has improved.
Right.
Particularly in industry, like I say, mining, banking particularly. Mm-hmm. Look at what we can do in money movement.
Right.
We can move money within 24 hours.
Absolutely.
In fact, in some cases, well, actually, in truth, you can move money in 5 minutes anywhere in the world.
Right.
Now, that's where the internet comes into play. Mm-hmm. That's where technology, but also you can get the weather reports. You can find out more information. Mm-hmm. You can do all these things you couldn't do before.
Right.
That's the improvement.
Right. That's great.
But then there was a price there. Mm-hmm. We're too dependent on it.
Oh, that's the downside of it.
What's the downside? You're too dependent. You have to have that balance.
Right.
That's for me. Like I say, for me and my wife, we decide, okay, fine, we'll do that. Mm-hmm. We'll be 100%. But then when we're breaking or away, we break from it.
Absolutely. But people don't have that discipline to be able to break away.
Well, that's the thing. They have to be trained in it. Right. It's another course.
It's something I'm learning myself. It's so difficult to break away from it.
Well, you have to, yes, but you can learn.
Right.
It takes step by step and also discipline.
Right.
And that's part of the thing we're having problems. I hate to say is with millennials, the Z generation, all that. No, I'm serious. If you look at the studies, you look at the reports and everything else, we need to get back to some of the old traditions of taking a break.
Right.
Of stopping for a minute.
Right.
Take a breath.
Absolutely. I agree. It's necessary.
That's where we have to go with
Absolutely.
it. Then you can actually take your technology to the next generation. Because I've already planned a few other things for the next generation. Right. But that's the other thing. If you have the basics from what you learned, then going to the next level is like, okay, next. No, I'm serious. Right. Okay, this would happen. Laptops now. Right. Now we have cell phones. Now we have cell phone cameras. Right. Now we have, I should say cell phones, smartphones, cell phone cameras, the foldables. Mm-hmm.
And so in your opinion, what is the impact that social media has in the world today? It's part of the evolution of the
There's a positive
internet.
and negative to it. The positive to find out more what your friends are doing.
All right.
The other thing is the bullying that used to be verbal has now become too intense with this in the social media side. Absolutely. That's the biggest downside. Right. The rest of it's fine. Right. People talk, people gag, and everything else. But this other thing with the bullying that's gotten to be very dangerous. Right. That's the downside. Right.
And maybe the competition and the comparison of each other. Like before, if you had a car or if you had friends, a friend who had a particular car and maybe you are lusting after that car, it was just your friend. Yeah. But now you log online and you see all this glamour and all these luxuries and all of this. So for people who love things and they can't control themselves, I think that sort of contributes to their sadness or some sort of depression. They feel like everyone is winning except me. Yeah. Well, but before, that competition was just between you and your closest neighbor or your closest friend. So the internet has also expanded that. But on the positive side, you keep in touch with your friends, family, and you get to see the world from another person's perspective. And I mean, if you went like your vacation, if you had shared some pictures, I would be part of that. Like, exactly. Even though I wasn't there, So there's
that's sharing your experiences. Right. That's part of it, and that's the nice thing about it.
Right.
And also presenting yourself to it.
Right.
But sometimes the present. Okay, now I'm talking more on the professional side. Right. You present yourself. Here you are.
Right.
But it doesn't show who the person is.
Right.
There's a part to the person
that's missing from social media.
Missing from the whole social media. Who is this person? Yes, you can make a video. Yes, you can do everything else. But when you talk to them, can you get that feeling, that connection or the non-connection, whichever way it goes? Right. And would you get the excitement, like I'm talking right now with the excitement, would you get that over a video? Not really.
Nah, not really.
And that's the thing that we're missing. Yes, we had covert and everything else. Right. Also, just to let you know, being a health scientist and a computer scientist, I had no restrictions during COVID, so I went wherever I needed to go. Yeah,
Really?
I'm one of those people. Yeah.
Did you wear the mask? For me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I took the whole precaution. I did the injections.
Right.
No problem else.
Uh-huh.
But see, the thing is that if you know,
But you were not locked down by it.
I've never been locked down anywhere.
Wow.
No matter what situation is,
Right.
because I have the training. See, I come from the Cold War. Okay.
Right.
Here's one you're going to really like. I'm trained in handling nuclear material.
Wow.
You know, reactor stuff.
Right.
Because that was what it was. That was what engineers had to learn on. So I've been through 2 earthquakes.
When was it?
This was 1970 and 1989. San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Wow. And
So
you survived.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's just, you were trained. In the United States, we're trained to handle that stuff. We're trained to handle disasters
Right.
because it's life.
Right.
Here, we forgot some of that. And part of it has to do with the load shedding.
Right.
If people learned about that, because I don't know if you drive on the roads lately.
Right.
It's dangerous out there.
I know.
They don't stop for red lights. They don't stop for any of this stuff. You drive at night.
Right.
Where are the lights?
Right.
Where's the things on the street?
Right. Because when there's no electricity, it affects traffic lights as well.
Yeah.
So.
But that's the whole thing. And there's some places that not even mark the traffic lights, so people just run.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. If you've learned the basics, again, all the basics,
Right.
you need to. It's a survival.
Right.
It's a living. But then you can make it fun.
Absolutely.
And if you make it fun, it's not a drag. You know, like, no, I'm serious. You take the point. Do you want to make it? Do you want to have an existence of drag,
Right.
or do you want to have an existence of fun
Absolutely.
and enjoyment? That's the big thing.
So there are a lot of people, like artificial intelligence has evolved and is very disruptive to
Yeah.
almost every industry.
Well, everybody.
really.
It's the entire area.
Right. And there are people that are against, I don't know, the evolution of artificial intelligence, if I may put it that way. Recently, this is why I'm asking, because I saw a call to pause AI that is more powerful than GPT-4. This call is being brought by Elon Musk, Yuval Noah, I think, and some of the big guys in AI actually that say everyone producing or creating any AI more powerful than GPT-4 should put a pause on it. So with such concern coming from these top people, what are your thoughts about that? Should we be worried about artificial intelligence as a whole?
No. The thing is that with the use of artificial intelligence implementation, things are going too fast
Right,
because people are scared of it.
right,
People are seeing loss of jobs, and management and companies see, okay, this is a way of cost savings. Okay,
Right.
They look at the bottom line.
right,
They're not looking at the human side of it. That's the problems, and that's going to backfire. Pure and simple. That's why everybody says, okay, pause it for a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
Let's catch up. Let's get everybody caught up
Absolutely.
to what it's about, how they can actually work with it, how they can actually learn with it and become the new employees that work with the artificial intelligence
Right.
unit. Because there's another article, and this goes back, I forget how many years, at least
Right,
5 years ago,
right.
where they're saying with the development of artificial intelligence, we're going to need more jobs than what are lost.
Okay.
Because there's new things that have to be done.
Right.
There's new things that right now, even though we have the robotics and
Right.
everything else, can't be done. And there's also at this point, because of our knowledge, there's some things that artificial intelligence, and I say now, cannot be done.
Right.
So that's where we have to train the people to do and be able to do, and
Right.
from the most basic to the
Right.
most advanced.
Right.
And those are jobs that are going to be needed into the future till, they retire or whatever else.
Right.
So I'm talking for the next 100 years.
Right. And you're highlighting something that is really important, for me to double click on it again. The fact that the call to pause AI is because people need time to catch up, like just breathe. And as you were saying that, my mind immediately went back to, when was GPT-3 released actually? Or ChatGPT, for example.
Yeah.
ChatGPT was released on the 30th of November last year.
Yeah.
So that's December, January, February,
March.
And in March, we're talking GPT-4. That's like 4 months, 3 months, actually. It's not even 4 months. Like, okay. And if they don't pause this whole thing, in the next 3 months, we could be talking GPT-5. People are still getting used to the idea of GPT-3.
Yeah.
Some people probably are still asleep. Maybe they live in another planet. They haven't even heard of ChatGPT yet. I was talking with someone yesterday. This guy is very much in technology. He's a cybersecurity guy. He studied. He's a graduate. But for the first time, I was shocked when he's telling me, well, I've heard about ChatGPT. I haven't really tried it. I'm like, what planet are you living on? Like, that's an example of some people haven't even heard about this. Some people haven't even experimented with GPT-3, and there's already GPT-4 out. And before we know it, there's GPT-5. So the world is really moving so fast that I think the idea to pause it, I'm for the idea to pause it.
Well, the thing is
I need to catch up. I need to catch my breath. I need to understand, how do I even interact with this thing? Like, the language to it is prompting, right? How do you even talk to these systems? We need to be given time to understand the basics of GPT-3, how to interact with it before we move to GPT-4, before we move to GPT-5. But we're already in GPT-4, by the way. The world is just throwing these things at us without really giving us time to catch our breath and just to, okay, this is here now. What next? Before you're thinking this is here now, you hear the next thing being announced. It's quite scary. And the speed at which it's moving, I believe, is too fast.
It is, because people are people, okay? We're still human.
Right.
And the thing is that, yes, there's change.
Right.
But the acceleration of change has not quadruples, I'd say maybe 1,000% over the last 5 years.
Right.
And if you're not used to that, if you haven't, like I say, my advantage is I've grown up with the whole thing.
Yeah.
So then it's easy. But for people who are just getting exposed to it,
right.
First of all, it's scary as hell.
Yeah, it is.
Second of all is, what's going to do my job?
Right.
What's going to do with this? How it will affect me? They have to stop. They have to have the ability to stop and talk to somebody or to get some information on that. I've been on some special lists where I get the latest manuals up front on what all these new technologies are. And there's also a way of learning. There's something called cheat sheets. You know what cheat sheet is? Okay, just people. It's a summary of like a language or whatever else. You can get cheat sheets for free. Right. And you should get those. I mean, it's like talking now for whatever language, C++, Python, whatever else, but also for the GPTs. Right. Whatever the versions. And then you can actually just get something like, here's the basic how it uses. Right. One or two things. Or also for Microsoft Word or whatever. Right. If you get that, you have something to look at. To quickly get an information. Right. Then you can start playing with it. Right. And there's also other programs. I'll give you an example for Word Office. Right. There are companies like IBM, Oracle, and a few others have sponsored what's called Open Office. Right. It's free. It's another version you can play with. And there's also versions of Python and things that you can get for free to try out. And the GPTs, because they want to let people learn. Right. And they can't pay the money. Right. So here's like a smaller version, so you can get your foot in the door. Put your toe in the water. Right. And start with that, and it's available. You can go on the line. It'll be there forever. But that's what I'm talking about. Start doing that. Look, the cheat sheets are one thing. The free versions, it's called open source. Right. That way you can learn. That way you can at least see what it's about and see how it's going to affect you. Right. And also you can learn it. Right. You can become the new programmers for this. Right. One of the things that I'm noticing, the AI battle, so to say, between the big tech, like Google wants it, Microsoft, they want to be the leader in that. And all of these big techs, they're fighting this AI war. And I think that they're not really putting the people's interest at heart. It is about who is going to win this war, and profits and all of that, but not giving people the time to catch up, So how do people,
where do people fit in when it comes to this? Like, are organizations just focused on, okay, we want the latest in these technologies. We want to be the one pioneering these. We want to be the winner of the AI war. But where do people fit in? Because this is where the fear comes in.
Yeah.
Like, they feel left out.
Well, they are. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
The companies are leaving the people out.
Right.
Because they're trying, okay, I hate to say this, but cost and everything else.
Right.
They don't see the value of the people anymore. They see the value of the technology.
Right. Which is sad.
In banking, what we had some issues with, let's go back a few years. We had Windows 7.
Right.
Then we had Windows 8, 8.1, and everything else. The thing was, okay, I was part of the prototypers. So I was running, you were running 7, I was running 10, okay? But to find out all the things, there's ways you need to experiment.
Right.
You need to take the time on your computer and try something.
Right.
At least read it. The manuals are there. The information is there. And that's how I started to learn. Here's a manual. Read it.
Right.
You may not have a computer to use it on, but if you read it and you get exposed to it, then you'll have an advantage to say, okay, this is how it's going to affect me.
Right.
Now, you can go back and say, okay, this is the new change. Now, here's an idea they can give to the employer. Like, okay, fine, you're going to do AI with this, but now we can add this to it as a human component, which is the truth. And this is what I'm saying, where the additional value of humans come into play. And there's a thing, I got to find it. There's an article that says, there's a job posting. The AI computers say humans wanted. It's a job wanted for the AI machines are saying they need humans.
That's interesting.
I got to find that article, but that's what's going on.
That's interesting.
And this is not funny or anything.
Right.
There's been a few science fiction movies where it actually shows that.
Right.
There's AI, they did everything else, but they still need humans.
Wow.
So yes, but you need to have some basic knowledge.
Absolutely.
And that's available. That's what the internet's now. You can find it. Go to Google, go to whatever. You can find it. And that's why I'm telling people now, do it. And
do you think there's any industry that is not being impacted by technology?
No. Every industry is. That's how it's become simple.
Absolutely.
It's become cost effective. It's become, in some cases, free.
Right.
Technology's there.
So do you think people should still hold the mindset of, well, technology is not for me? Because some people still think like that.
I know. No, technology is for everybody. And the pure example is, I don't care
I would like you to say that again. Technology is for everybody.
Technology is for everybody. And the perfect example is, okay, take my age group.
Right.
Now, which person do you know that doesn't have a cell phone?
Right.
There's the first step. Everybody uses technology.
Right.
Everybody uses the cell phone.
Right.
And they use the little things. You get on here, you see them do this and everything else.
Right.
They're using it. This is the perfect example. Technology is there.
Absolutely.
And embrace it. But also you can learn. See, nowadays, I call this a joke to me.
Right.
All the information is there. All the information you can use to learn is there. Just take the step to do it. It's also called a library. Absolutely.
Now, mentioning people in your age group, there are a lot. You is different, like you're a special case.
Yeah.
So, but many people in your age group, they feel like, even younger, some at 50, they feel like, well, technology is not for me. Or I'm about to be retired and I never had to work with technology. I don't need to learn about it. Some are still working, but they have completely removed themselves from anything to do with tech. Some in their 50s are leaders in organizations that is being disrupted by these technologies. What is your message for them?
Let's take a step to learn technology. Go to your subordinates. Just talk to them or just go watch them.
Right.
When I came here for you, where we work office, I went down and just looked around with people, see what they're doing for work. Look at what your colleagues are doing. How are they using technology? Little thing, maybe calling on the phone, maybe email, chat, Zoom, whatever, Teams. Just look at that, because you're going to have to get involved in it, particularly with your family, and your children. And if you want to be a good grandparent, You have to keep up with the children.
I love that.
No, seriously. Because they're going to show you things. But learn from the children.
Right.
Learn from you, but also learn from the grandchildren.
Right.
It's time.
Absolutely. And I feel that there should be some special, maybe courses or organizations really focus on the elderly, to keep them so that they're not left behind with this revolution.
That's one of the things I do.
Right, great.
I provide courses across the board, individually or in groups, for all that.
Right.
Let's show you what technology can do for you and make it easy.
Right.
I say, bring your cell phones. or bring, tell you what, no, bring your phone.
Right.
Let's convert it. No, I'm serious.
Do people still have them?
Well, you know what? There's a company way back when cell phones first 3 or 4 years after cell phones, they actually had an attachment that was like a regular phone to your cell phone. And it rang like a phone.
Oh my God.
So particularly with the women, they get a phone call and they take their phone out of their bag. I'm trying to find it.
How big was it?
It was a regular phone. Like the regular phone? Yeah.
Old technology.
It's old technology playing your cell phone.
Oh, right. That's interesting. Anyway, I'm sure those things don't exist anymore for most people.
See, that's the whole thing. Now, that's what I'm doing now.
Right.
For whoever wants to learn.
Right.
Come visit.
Right.
Zoom chat, whatever.
Right.
Let's get to the point.
Right.
Let's get you up to speed.
Right.
Well, no, let's take that back.
Right.
Let's get up to your speed.
Right.
Everybody's different.
Right.
You don't have to be the whiz of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Get the basics down for your life. Make your life easier.
Right. That's awesome.
And the thing is, have fun with your family.
Absolutely. So even the elderly people, do not discount yourself to say, oh, no, I think I'm too old for this. No one is too old for technology.
Change the word from elderly to mature.
Mature.
We're mature. We're not elderly anymore. We're not old.
I love that.
No, seriously.
Yes, thank you for that correction. So the mature people should not remove themselves from what is happening in the world of technology, but to find ways in which they can integrate themselves and learn. Yeah. If not for anything, but to be able to interact with your family, like you're saying, which is quite amazing because kids these days understand technology even much more than most of us adults.
Yes.
They do. So, wow, Robert, I could talk to you all day. It's been amazing. I feel like there's so much that we haven't really touched on. Probably there will be a next time for you. But at the moment, how can people connect to you? I know that we connected on LinkedIn recently, so you're active on LinkedIn. So how can people reach out to you?
Well, the best way. Okay, how do I do this the best way? Okay, the best way. Let's do email to start with and make life easy. Okay, so for the most basic.
Right.
Okay, it's learn LEARN.
Right.
At netactive netactive.co.za.
Great. I will put that in the show notes so for people to get.
Just put on the subject tag, podcast response or whatever, so I know.
Great.
That's a separate email I use for people who want to learn. See, that's a tag I use for people who want to learn.
Great.
So if you're serious and want to learn, then use that.
Right. I feel strongly that we still need to have a conversation specifically on how mature people should approach technology, because I feel that this particular demographic, they are the ones actually removing themselves. Like, you know what, I think I'm too old for this, and they don't want to do it.
Just to say, for the mature people, just to let you know, I know some gurus who have space in their caves if you want to be devoid of everything.
Great. You've been an absolutely wonderful guest, Robert. Thank you so much for coming. Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.